Ruiz.
I know.
That's the clue.
So, haha.
Okay. 5, 4.
Love it. Love it, love it. Yeah. So we are here today. It's October 1st. Do you believe it? We're here today with Jackie Camacho Ruiz. And I am Maria Castro, sitting in for the wonderful Mr. Frank Avila, who is not here yet. However, we're here today to talk with Jackie in regards to some of the amazing things that she's doing out there. And it's all about being inclusive with today's inspired Latinas. So welcome, Jackie. It's October 1st.
October 1st here at Can TV. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And what a treat to have you as the host of this amazing show. Thank you, Frank Avila, for this amazing opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Maria, for having me here.
So I want to kind of just get into the nuts and bolts of how this all started, because I know so many people out there have already heard of Jackie Ruiz Camacho, and we just were thinking about this the other day. Like all the book sisters were together. We were saying, how in the world did this all start? So for those people who are watching who've never heard of you, who don't know what the movement is about, can you just kind of start us out from the beginning? Like, where did this all start?
Perfect. I think that everything that is worth in life, that sometimes you don't know where it's going to take you, begins, as I always say, with a divine download. To me, a divine download is an idea with an amazing feeling in your heart. So that's how it all got started. I had published 6 of my books, and the last one was a Spanish book, and I started getting more connected to the Hispanic community and I did a tour in Mexico, here in the States. I did a lot of interviews, and I was meeting a lot of amazing Latinas. And of course, when you've published 6 books, people are like, hey, how do you write a book?
Yeah, sure.
So I basically, started sitting down with a lot of these women and referring them back to one of the publishers that I was working with. And they would come back to me and say, did you know how much they want to charge? This is like ridiculous. I can't believe this. So I just got this idea. I'm like, what if we created this book, one book with all these amazing stories? I was thinking 10 women. And we make an anthology series, of this 10 stories for this volume 1, which at that point I didn't even know it was going to be volume 1. It just says Today's Inspired Latina.
Yeah, sure.
That was the dream. Ended up with 27 women. And I wanted to give them a gift of hosting an intimate event so they can autograph their books for the first time.
Yeah.
That intimate event drew 621 people. And I think that was like the first time that my husband and I noticed that there was something
brewing, something bigger than yourself, right?
Yes.
And I think, as women, right, a lot of the times we don't feel like our stories matter. We don't feel like, who would want to read my story? And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit, which is exactly what you did. You took that idea and ran with it so that you would be able to have all these women come forth, and really pour their hearts out about, trials, tribulations, all the things that matter to us and the things that we don't get to share with other people. So tell me about your first book and like some of the stories that might have been really compelling.
I think, every story is really absolutely compelling, but, the idea of capturing a moment in time where somebody had an adversity and felt like the world was crumbling down on them. Like, for example, Gabriela Rodil's story that really touched me, where she left everything she had, went to Mexico. She had her career here in the States, went to Mexico, moved, left her job, everything, relocated. And then one evening, her husband says, I can't do this anymore. And she said, what do you mean? Like the bed or this? Or it's like, no, I can't do this. And he left. He left with some other woman, and she was left stranded in Mexico City, not knowing what to do. And then she was trying to figure out, how do I build myself back up? In my culture, you don't get divorced. You kind of, stay true to marriage. And she had to figure out, in a couple of months, she had to figure out a way to find herself a job, rebuild herself back up again. And now she's an amazing, incredible entrepreneur that has found, has quadrupled her business since she started about 3-4 years ago. So, and she was part of Volume 1, and it's, it's amazing to see that. And I think that, to me, writing books before Today's Inspired Latina changed my life. I was in love with books since I was a little girl. I fell in love with books. They became my babysitters.
Yeah. They take you to another dimension.
Yes,
basically.
A new reality,
yeah,
a new
sure.
beautiful opportunity to go deep into yourself and find out, what do I have inside of me? Like, what can I do to be the best version of myself through the experiences that are here? And I think that's when people started catching on. 10 women became 27 for Volume 1. And then I listened and I surrendered to what people were asking. Then Volume 2 came, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5. And in less than 2 weeks, we launched Volume 6 in Europe with Latinas that live there. So it's been a beautiful journey.
Yeah. But I think, let's go back even further than that, because I know that you have a really tall tale story about your own life and some of the adversities that you faced and some of the things, the challenges, and how you looked at them as opportunities rather than saying, oh, poor me, and kind of sitting in a corner. You actually took that and said, okay, what is the message here? Like, why is this happening to me? There must be a really, really important message for me, and I'm listening, right? So tell me about, fast forward, fast go backwards as well. So tell me what happened before that even started.
I love that. I think one of my first adversity was, I was about 11 years old, and somebody had actually burned our home. We had moved from Mexico City to this really small town in Mexico with about 6,000 people, and somebody actually burned our home, which we didn't know until after the fact. But it was such an adversity for me as a young girl.
Sure.
Because I didn't care about my toys. I cared about my books, those books that took me to a new dimension, the books that made me see that there was a new possibility in life, even though my circumstances were not. And I remember my mom, my brother, and I walked into the house, and you can still feel the heat of the flames, the fire had been extinguished. My mom said, "We are okay." And in that darkness, it was like a horror movie, walking into a horror movie. It was the first time in my life that with autonomy, I was able to see a light that was beyond the physical, what I was seeing there. And what I saw was, I've already read these books. So now I am going to dedicate my life to apply the principles that I've learned. So that was the first thing. But I didn't know that applying the principles of helping others and serving and having a positive attitude, all those things that we hear in the books that have changed the way we look at things, like Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, How to Influence Friends and Win People. And when I was 21, I was diagnosed with cancer, and this is already fast forward to 21 here in the States, and that was devastating. I got married very young, and then when I was 23, I was diagnosed with a rare condition that happens in 1 out of 150,000 people in this part of the world, and it was pre-cancer level 4 right by my liver. So I remember waking up from that surgery. 23, I heard the word cancer twice in my body in 2 years. They had to completely redo my digestive system. And the doctor said, well, you can live, perhaps, over the next 2 weeks, we don't know. Number 2, you might be fit out of a tube for the rest of your life, or you might die in the next 2 weeks. 23, 5-month-old baby, brand new business in the land of opportunity, which had been my dream my entire life. And I was hooked up to every machine that you can think of, yearning for life.
Yeah.
And that to me was the wake-up call. I said, I need to live. And if I do live, I'm going to transcend every day with service.
And those are the things, I think that most people who face adversity of any kind, right, those are the things that kind of teach us our life's lessons, right? They absolutely, positively change us for the better. I believe that. And I think that your story, I mean, although not unique, it certainly in and of itself has transformed into something bigger than you could have ever imagined. I mean, I have had the privilege of obviously being in one of your books. Thank you very much. Volume 5.
Pleasure.
And I like yourself thought, who's going to read the story? Like, is there something profound that somebody might listen to? But I do think that all of us have a story to tell, first of all. Second of all, that, sometimes, whether you know it or not, you're touching lives. You're touching each and individual person with some kind of act of kindness, with a gesture, with, the book, whatever the case may be. You have had the privilege of writing so many books, but I think one of the things that I find really interesting is not only the book series, but now you've transcended it into like workshops for young Latinas. You've injected, the belleza, so the event there the other day. So tell us a little bit about how that's all transpired and how you think it's going to continue on.
I think that what I underestimated, because I never planned it out this way, was that the power of a unified voice, of a unified community that transcends with inspiration. And I never thought, because I've never done this, I mean, I don't have any other examples of anybody that has done this at this level, where you say, well, connecting women that are aligned with integrity, aligned with their vision, aligned with their heart, aligned with the ability and the yearningness to make a difference, can create amazing things. I mean, out of the series has come new businesses, media opportunities, over 50 media outlets, new business deals, partnerships, international speaking engagements, new nonprofit organizations, other books, other series, other community events. And I think that people outside, like Estee Lauder, like Wintrust Bank, that we collaborate with for years, they're seeing that there's something here that they can align with, because their core values aligned with this community that is giving inspiration. And it's sometimes people are like, oh, this is a movement. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it feels amazing. Like, it feels
I don't know,
awesome.
but I'm just going to keep going for the ride, right?
Yeah, so
I
like,
mean,
open
at
doors.
some point you have to try and think about how big it's gotten in just even the last year that I've been involved with you. Like, I've been seeing like it just kind of keeps going and going and going. And one of the things that I love so much is the children's books that you have now started. Tell me a little bit about the aviation book, because that one, I think so many people could really, want for their kids and really be interested in finding out about.
So another divine download that unexplainably came to my heart was to become a pilot. Now, we all have ideas, but I mean, this really hit me hard, and I decided that I was gonna fly planes. I had no idea how difficult this was gonna be. And in that process of learning to fly and all that, and becoming a licensed pilot here in the States, I was like, you know what? I want more people to do this. More people to feel the magic of aviation. More people to feel what I feel as a pilot in command of this small aircraft with no doors in the summer, and you feel like you're soaring. Like
I've been with her on this flight.
Yes.
Let me tell you, it's been amazing.
And it's unbelievable. How do you describe it, right? It's like, no, it's not an airline, big plane. When you go to the Bahamas and you go on vacation, this is beautiful sunset flights. It's flying
even better.
Yes, it's seeing the ground, way enough to be able to see the perspective. It's about going to lunch, going to breakfast on a plane instead of driving. It's, sharing that magic. So my kids, my daughter, I made up a word, pilots plus Latina. Well, I said there's not a lot of us. So I made a word, which is pilotina, right? I have my pilotina mobile, and it's become like this own little, this own little thing, with social media.
Hashtag, actually.
Hashtag pilotina. But my daughter said, Mom, if you're a pilotina, I'm a pilot tiny. 9 years old, she flew with me at 7 for the first time. And she's like, Mom, I love this. I've given her the controls of the plane for a couple of seconds. I'm taking it back as a pilot in command. But, I wanted to create this book to inspire other kids about stories of pilots in history that made an impact, transcended. And in there, I also share my little story of how I became a pilotina.
That is so cool. And it's funny because I personally have spoken with other people who are into the same type of thing. And the minute I mention you and the minute I mention your books, they're like, I have to meet her. Like there's this collaboration, you know, and all women, not to say anything about the men, but all women. And they're so excited because they have like a camaraderie now. They're like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to her about that book because I also have students that I teach. And, you know, they're all STEM students going into, they want to learn how to fly. And we're going to be hitting a critical time. A lot of older folks are going to be retiring.
Yes.
And certainly they're going to be needing pilots out there. So
Yes.
these books are going to be instrumental in helping kids realize what they can be. And as they say, you know, if they can see it, they can be it, right?
Yes.
And if they see you as a pilot, they can see themselves as being in the same realm of, you know, career and things. So that's amazing because you're not just touching, you're planting these little seeds all over the place, right? Little mustard seeds. And they're all going to grow at some point and you're going to see the fruits of your labor.
You know what? The most amazing satisfaction that I feel when I fly, when I'm able to share this beautiful passion with other people like you,
Yeah.
people that I admire, people that I appreciate, young Latinas, young people that, you know, kids, little kids. Sometimes I go out to the airport and I take 13 kids up. Now I can only fit one person in the little plane, so the tower
They
is
take
like
turns. They have to be patient.
The tower is like, well, next time get a bigger plane. Like,
Yeah.
I'm working on it. But I know, and one of the things that is so humbling is that out of the women that I've taken up to fly, 6 of them are in the process or already getting their pilot's license. That to me is so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, and I never push it, you know, because people come up and they're like, I love it, but loving it to doing it,
But you also
Big
have
gap.
to, also have to mention that I think one of them you gave a scholarship to start flying because she was so enthused about it. And that's where I talk about like planting those seeds because maybe she would have never had that opportunity. And you said, you can do it. I'm even going to give you a scholarship so you can start taking your lessons. And so she did. And I think that just speaks volumes about women empowering women and about how one person can kind of change the world, a little bit at a time, right? And I think that all of us have a gift, regardless of what that gift is. If we can share that gift and we can continue movements like this where everybody understands the importance of it and wants to become a part of it because they see the potential in themselves. Once they see everybody else around them, they think, I can do this. Because initially, I think especially in even the volume that I'm in with the book, there was so many women that I talked to that have said, I never really thought much of my story. And once I saw it on paper and once I saw it in the book, I realized that it is a great story and it is important for somebody to see that what I went through, they've gone through or they are going through it. And they can certainly come out of on the other end, alive and well, right? So what would be, if you could fast forward, say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what would be your dream?
This, it's interesting. This question makes me emotional because for somebody that has struggled with health at a young age, my only dream is to be alive.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great goal and that's a great dream, right? So I think that most of us have to say that. We have to know that the gift of life is so precious and what we do with it today and how we empower people tomorrow and in the future is going to be vital for just about anybody. So when you surround yourself with people, like-minded people, that are doing great things, that are being servant leaders, I think that is what all of us strive to do. We all know that we have a purpose, that each and every one of us has a gift, we have a purpose, and therefore we have to share those gifts and we have to share that purpose so that we can in turn make sure that everybody else kind of follows suit because, when I'm not here, I'm hoping that my grandkids are going to be, taking what I have planted in them and moving that on and making sure that they're good people.
Yeah.
So
my hope in the world is that Pilotina lives on, that the word amazing lives on, that the color purple lives on.
Yeah.
And just every day I live to serve and I serve to live, and I just I feel so blessed every single day. Sometimes I come home with tears in my eyes and I tell my husband, you're not going to believe what happened today. Because, when you feel complete and when you feel aligned with joy and happiness, everything that shows up, and another act of kindness that fills you up even more. By that time, you're overflowing, right? So at any moment, I feel complete, and I feel like, I surrender to this divine downloads of ideas. 2 weeks ago, I took one of the young ladies flying, 16, and she said, Jackie, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I was telling one of my instructors, and he said, Jackie, I will donate my time for the first few lessons. And I said, well, okay, I wasn't thinking about starting another Latina scholarship anytime soon. However, if you do that, then I'll pay for the rental of the plane for the first few hours. And so she's going to be starting in the next 2 weeks.
And again, this is something that I think, as women, we always try and think about what can we do for somebody else? How can we make somebody else's life better? But we also have to put our own oxygen mask on first, right? So I think at the end of the day, we have to be healthy. We have to make sure that we're okay so that we can take care of everybody else, because sometimes we forget that. Yeah. And we're going on all cylinders, and we're making sure that everybody eats, that everybody's clothes is washed, that everybody's on time for school, that so we go on and on and on, and sometimes we're so painfully exhausted that we don't take time for ourselves. So I think that in terms of women and our movements and everything else that we're doing, I think more people are being a little bit more conscious about that. So tell me what you do to kind of relax. I know you read, but what else do you do to relax?
What is relaxing? Right? What is sleeping and relaxing?
Yeah.
No, I do get my 8 hours of sleep every night. That's non-negotiable. Love journaling. To me, my German teacher used to say that writing was an extension of your soul. And I'm like, wow, that is so beautiful. I just want to keep extending it forever with 0.38 millimeter pens from Japan. Let's do this. So I do that a lot. I love green juices, green things, especially juices. That really gets me meditating, praying, creativity, writing down notes and drawing and all kinds of stuff. I love that, and of course, getting massages. I mean, it's like
who doesn't,
like
right?
2-3 times a month if I can, to get me back online. And you know what? Flying for me is
it calms
my
you.
zen. It's even though it's like I'm present 150% as preparing the aircraft, taking off. But the beauty that I get to see up there is beyond anything, and I can't text and fly. I can't do marketing plans and fly, so I'm just flying.
Focusing on the flying.
Flying.
Yeah.
And
I think
so beautiful.
That's, for somebody who was on for the first time with you, because I've been in planes many times, obviously, when I've traveled and things, but never like that. I can tell you that it was an experience of a lifetime. Yeah, we flew, we went to go have lunch and just hung out and then came back, and I was like, this is awesome. All I kept hearing was like Gloria Estefan playing in the background. And I just thought this could be a really fast thing for me to get used to doing. So
it's really amazing. And I think at the end of the day, it's about you aligning with your joy, with your passion, but it brings you happiness, because if you're aligned, then everything else in your life falls in place. You don't get sick anymore. You don't, like you flow, you inspire people. They become a magnet of amazing opportunities. And that's what I, every morning, when I put on my makeup, put on my clothes, I say, put on the best energy, because I'm about to share that energy with the world. Yeah. And let's make that connection of energy the best that it can make it.
So I want to know about Paris. I want to know about Belgium. Tell me about this next series of books that's coming out.
Oh, so exciting. Yesterday, I received the first 2 copies of Today's Inspired Latina Volume 6. Jeez. Nobody in the world has them except 2 copies printed. Super exciting. So in about 10 days, we leave to Belgium and Paris to launch the very first edition of Today's Inspired Latina Europe.
That's
Volume
amazing.
6.
Amazing.
Veronica Sosa, the founder of Hispanas Emprendedoras, beautiful conference with women from around the world coming together, and now for the first time launching a Latina book series at her conference, and the next day. And then we go to Paris with a private boat on the Siena River so that the authors can connect with each other.
That is so fun.
And then do another book launch the next day. I mean,
that
we're
is so
fun. Exciting.
So it's gone from local to national to worldly. So I don't think you can go anywhere else from there, right? I mean, you're pretty much there. You're,
The
you're
moon,
flying.
Mars. I mean, that's my other destination soon.
Yeah, talk to Elon Musk about it. I saw it on the news yesterday. He's going to be there real soon. So
We'll create a collaboration with Today's Inspired Latina.
yeah, AKA flying around. So. Well, certainly for me, it's been a pleasure because you're not only a dear friend of mine, but certainly now I've been part of your book series and part of this movement that we're calling it. And it's just exciting. I think that it's a great time for women. It's a great time for girls. I mean, you name it, girls in coding, Girl Scouts, whatever the case may be. Women are starting to kind of, come into their own and bringing all these young Latinas up with them and bringing these young girls of color that really need to have a voice and to understand that they matter. And that all the things that we're doing is really planting those seeds for them as they come into their own as young adults and as women and as they come out into their careers and things. So it's been a pleasure for me because I absolutely love you and I think that you're doing some great work out there and that there's, the best is yet to come. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think the best is yet to come, and certainly for me, it's a pleasure. I hope that people that are watching go out and they buy Today's Inspired Latina. If they want to get me, it's volume 5. If they want to get the new series, that's fine too. But certainly go out and get the book, be supportive, and in any way, shape, and form that we can, be of assistance to you, we hope that we can do that. So, Jackie, we thank you. We certainly are very grateful to Frank Avila for giving us this time and this platform to talk about Today's Inspired Latina and how much it's going to mean to the whole world very, very soon in Paris and in Belgium. And any last words that you'd like to say?
I just like to leave you with one of my quotes. Taking off is optional, but landing on your dreams is mandatory.
Awesome.
From the Pilotina. Thank you so much. But,
love it. Well, hopefully
Thank
Frank
you.
will agree, and he will be one of our biggest advocates, as he always has been. And we certainly thank him for this time and for anything and everything that he currently is working on for us to help us get this through. So thank you.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much.